All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'm trying not to pledge to the tree.
I would just like to say, nice to see you, Rexanne. Thank you. We have really missed our liaison, so she came twice. I am happy to be here. Nice to see you.
Joanne was a great liaison.
Yeah, she was.
She just wasn't here.
Yeah, and the council decided a while ago that they were going to try to give us a little more latitude to do our own thing, and it alleviated some of the demands, I think, on council. So, okay, review minutes. Chad, now you had the December one you sent out?
Oh.
I think it was in a different email.
I read them.
We have the October minutes that were sent to y'all for your review.
Yep. October?
That's the last meeting that we've had minutes recorded.
Oh, okay. I think that's the one you sent it on December, right? And right before this one. Okay. Okay.
We wanted to review the excused versus unexcused absences.
Right. But I'm just going to make a motion to approve the minutes. And they were the minutes from
We would have
October.
the discussion we had is whether or not the members of the MRF committee would want to amend the minutes from October to change the Greg Holmes and Justin Pawlowski's from excused to unexcused absences. And that's y'all's decision.
Oh, so they're listed on the minutes as being excused?
Did y'all excuse, or were they excused or unexcused absences? That's for y'all to answer.
Usually they'll tell you and not us.
Yeah.
So we don't know. We don't hear anything.
I haven't gotten any responses
If
from.
you didn't hear anything, then they were officially unexcused.
So that would require a motion from y'all
To change the minutes or?
to change the
Yes,
minutes
okay.
to reflect them as unexcused.
And they did not let you know they weren't coming?
Correct.
I think Greg may have told us, didn't he say he was going to be out next to forever and then he'd be back at some point in time?
Yeah, yeah.
Does that
Does
count?
have excused?
Well, yeah, because he said Anchorage Committee took the whole summer off, but that was the summer.
He took the summer, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
It's been quite a while,
So
actually.
no, that
That's
was
on
all.
my, remember, I like to talk about that. Moving along here.
Moving on. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the business here.
Yep.
Right.
So I have a motion that we approve the October 9th minutes with the change that Greg Holmes and Justin Pulaski be listed as unexcused since they did not notify the town liaison in a timely manner of their
I'd
absence.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? But I don't have a print of this to sign or anything.
Yeah, I guess I should redo them and then have you sign it, rather than have you sign something that's not fully 100% approved.
Okay.
Do we do that? Like, we'll make changes and then we approve them?
If he just makes those changes, I think we've already approved it. Okay. All right.
Have a counselor in the room, too.
Yeah, well, that's true.
She's a counselor in more ways than one.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, public comment. Okay, before we get into current items, I do want to officially welcome Joanne Hassafras as our Rexanne.
Oh, my gosh.
Rexanne to be our liaison, our council liaison. Welcome.
And I want you to know that I was given a choice by Joanne of which committee. She wanted to get rid of a committee, she said, and she asked me which one I wanted, and I picked you guys.
Yay! Good.
Because we're fun.
We'll make you proud.
Yeah, because these are probably the longest committee meetings, I think, in the town. I don't know how the LD. Are they?
Oh, okay,
Okay,
wow.
good.
All right.
6 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
That should be illegal.
Yeah,
We usually run pretty regularly about 2.
yeah, about to.
Yeah, we get hungry, but maybe we won't be that hungry now.
Now they were earlier, so we
Yeah,
You can bring a
can
pizza.
go for 3 hours.
hangry.
Pizza, yeah.
Okay, let's go through the current items. Reusable bags.
Looks good. I just wanted to say that one of the prospects on here is the Fishtail Marina. Is that where Justin works?
Yes.
His mother works there as well. They were there last time. That list was one that we were working off last time, so those were mostly
Have anybody?
Have you contacted them?
No, you know what,
Justin.
I've emailed them. I
Oh.
have all their email, so they've been emailed a couple times.
They've been,
So we're waiting to hear from Pierside, and then I think Good Time Charters.
Yeah, and she said she would, and I dropped off the form at the desk, but she wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, you can even do it over email, I think. Just email you and say what's.
Pretty casual, it's just a pledge.
Do we know
Yeah,
which,
if
do
we-
we know which blocks they want?
If we have a confirmation, they're not signing an agreement here. We do, that's, I had to get back to the Islander because 4 was no longer available, so that's 16 now. I made that change. I got, heard back from Anita on that. So there's 5 left.
I thought that I thought you had gotten Christina.
They are going to. She said she just hasn't gotten around to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But they're not
Pierside and Good Time
they're-
Charters.
Christina and Mike are Good
That would
Time
leave
Charters.
only 3. That's needing
It-
3.
We don't know which numbers they want?
They are that
Like
too.
the squares are 5, 9, 13, 15, and 12?
Correct. Did I send the
And which
updated-
ones do they want? Do we know? Which one does
Yeah, it's
Pierside
actually,
want?
it's
in one of
Chad's
our-
gonna email it. I sent it to him. at
It's
like
in one of our
2:30,
papers,
so-
okay.
I put copies for
Oh,
everybody
I
up
see,
there.
on top
Yeah,
here, gotcha.
We're good.
So these are
Yeah.
what are available. So this is that pledge sheet you can photocopy or
Oh,
give
good.
out.
Oh, okay,
So
good.
what's available is 5, 9, 13, 15, and 12. So there's 5 left. We have 2, we think, on the hook. And so there's 3 spots left.
That's
Probably,
awesome.
do we know which those 2 prospective
We do
to
not,
want?
not until we get the confirmation.
So at this point, anybody could take any of them if they,
Correct.
Zip
yeah.
in there.
And that's why I
Okay.
try to keep this updated. This is like the 3rd version of this thing I've sent you, so. I think just going out and visiting
I
with a few
dropped it
people
off.
would do it.
I did. Because now you're the one, she got the bags from you, right? And then we got a
Love
letter.
to,
I was forwarded a letter from the,
Yeah,
sorry, I
get
didn't
this
mean
order
to
in.
talk over you
I'd
guys.
love to
Maybe
get
we
the
should talk
order in.
one at a time.
Yeah, so if we can get 3 more, we'll be good to go. I think I may go out tomorrow and knock around a little bit.
And, I think the Fishtail Marina should be a slam dunk.
Oh, but that's Janine I would talk to,
Right.
correct, who we met with last time. So maybe I'll just go in the,
Yeah, and they're always at the office. They're pretty easy to find
right,
people
when I
there.
went with you, we walked right in. She was
Right.
sitting there, yeah.
And Distinctive Beach Rentals said they would.
Huh?
And they
That's
were
Amy.
ones, yeah,
Yeah.
Amy, they took quite a few of the first lot.
Gave them about 250. And
Right.
yeah, she was very interested in leaving them in all of her rentals, and that's about how many units they have. Well, no, she said she has over 300, so I didn't give her enough for all
I
of
gave
them.
her like half of what she asked for.
Right, and that was the idea though, so she would.
Right, and, but I think that she still is a recipient of more of the bags than anybody else.
Yeah, so so
And-
you want me to go talk to her?
You can, I dropped the form off.
Oh, which one? Oh,
I dropped one of
okay.
these off, in there, she wasn't there, so I left
Yeah.
it at the desk.
Okay.
And then she also sent an email to, town manager requesting more bags.
Oh, she
And I
did?
told her we're kind of at the end of this one, and I forwarded the, form on there.
Okay, yeah, that was, okay.
Part of providing her those bags, though, were to find out how, if they've been effective. I mean, have they been returned? How many have
I
been
can ask her
lifted? That type of thing. What's her impression of
Yeah,
acceptance? Have
And
people been
I
using
I
it
can
and
ask her that.
leaving it?
yeah, and it's,
Are they
and,
staying in the units, or
Yeah.
is she
Yeah.
checking and trying to see if, like, is that what you're asking?
Exactly,
Is she
right.
replacing them? Okay.
Right.
because Scott at
Did
the Sea
she put a
Gypsy,
sign up to, I'm sorry, no, I don't mean to.
Scott at the Sea Gypsy, I asked him to kind of keep track, and he said that if they're new, they walk. If he washes them and beats them up a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit,
yeah.
then they tend to stay, but they do shrink a lot if you
That's-
walk
They
them.
do.
If you
I've
wash
had to
them.
wash them, yeah. And they're a little softer. They don't lay flat, yeah. But they're still very good quality.
Good size, yeah, and
Very good bags.
the strap size is key.
Okay, now, and I think though, if you work on this over the weekend, when I come back from seeing my dad, we can go and I think we should be able to get this thing nailed. I think some visits and we can do in an hour or two, we can get it done. And if we don't, one thing I'm willing to do is to help finance like a turtle time slot. Well,
Semi-pledge.
I want to talk to
An
Eve, see if
asterisk.
there's something she wants to do first. I sent her an email, but I haven't heard back.
That would
Uh-huh.
knock it out, pretty much. That's pretty good.
Okay, so the big thing is selling, because we have a supplier, we can get them made. It'd be good to get them going in the season this time instead of in the off-season.
Yeah, so
Right.
actually, I'd like to, if we can, I'd love to get it done before the end of the year, because some of these,
How
I
long
know
did it,
TPI probably, they probably want to spend the money this year, usually.
how long did it take them to make them? Do you remember how long it took them?
You know,
Once you put in all the orders?
yeah, I think it took them a little bit to get the bag in, not too long, bags, but then the printing came in lots.
Correct, which is probably okay.
Which was probably better, instead of getting
All at once.
Yeah,
right.
oh, yeah,
That
through the warehouse.
massive number of boxes to have to
Ability to work,
store.
yeah, warehouse, it wasn't reasonable. The other question I had was, I actually have a check already. St. Peter Lutheran insisted, he needed to cut the check and get me his artwork and everything right away. So it's made out to the town of Fort Myers Beach, and so I need to know when. I mean, I can hang on to these until, ideally, I told them we wanted to receive all the pledges, and then the next step would be to collect the artwork and the checks.
Never turned down a check.
Cash
Well,
that
I
check.
know. Well, I mean, but
Cash
that
that
is
check.
correct, right? Town of Fort Myers Beach, and I need to, to rely on you to know who to give them all to.
Yeah, I can figure that out.
Okay.
But one thing probably
Yeah,
is,
you weren't here for the first time, so I know the process is hopefully already put together.
if in the off chance that this doesn't fly, which is pretty slim, probably don't want to cash a check quite yet.
No, no,
Wait
no,
till we
no,
get
I'm
lit-
not
we
gonna
get all
give
the
it to 'em,
sponsors,
actually.
yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give it to them until I have them all.
But once that check is written out, their accounting is going to be big question mark if it's not cashed.
Well, I mean, they're gonna give you 30 days, so.
Okay.
The idea is to finish this before the end of the year. We need 3 more, and I think we can, I'd like to get off my plate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
I'll get it rolling.
Yeah. Or to at least take it to the next step.
Okay, well, let us know how it goes over the weekend, and then
Okay.
we can send out the troops.
Festive mood, people are spending money, so now's the time.
This is a good time to do it.
Yep,
And,
okay.
if you do want to go talk to Amy,
Yeah, I will.
that'd be good
I
too.
will.
I mean,
I'll go
because,
there.
you're the one who gave her the goods.
Yep.
All right, anything else with that?
No, although, did I miss my opportunity, Chad? You told me I actually had, if I wanted to add an agenda item, I needed to do it. before
Yeah,
starting.
I was just looking at the agenda. We missed a couple things. Call to order. I need to recognize everybody here. So if you can just announce who you are for the record, and then whether or not the other two are excused or unexcused.
Okay.
Shannon Mapes, present.
Bill Veach, present.
Mary Rose Spalletta, present.
Steve Johnson, present.
Now, have you been informed by Justin or Greg they were not going to attend?
I was informed by Bill that he would be here.
By Greg?
Greg Holmes. I know Bill Holmes as well. Sorry. Greg Holmes.
And you haven't heard from Justin?
Correct.
Okay, then they're unexcused. They have 7 days before to let you know that they're not coming. Or some kind of emergency. Now, well, we should probably just go, okay. There's something else we missed? I know we didn't do an invocation, but we never do.
Yeah, if there's any additions to agenda items, I would prefer y'all to motion that to be, rather than me just adding it.
Okay,
No.
what we've typically done, instead of add it to the agenda, is do it under member items, so it gets the same attention.
Okay.
And then we can add it to the agenda in subsequent, but we'll still get a chance to talk about it.
Sure.
Just do it under member items.
Okay.
That's Shannon's favorite spot on the agenda. No, you should. It's great. Keeps our agenda interesting. Okay, so can I go on to
Unless there's
fertilizer?
any motions on reusable bags that y'all need to do, then on to the next one.
I think we've pretty much done every motion we need to just get those suckers sold. Once we get the last pledge, then we'll have to work through you to select the vendor. Because I know we don't just use somebody because we use them. You guys have to do multiple quotes. And it's a bit, and it's a bit tricky because you don't want just anybody in bag, it's got to be specifically what we're asking for. Yeah, and not,
Spec sheet, how's that sound? I mean, that's what you need to go by specs, right?
That's
If you
right.
meet the specs,
Yep.
you get the bid,
and our spec is the existing bag pretty much.
or equivalent.
Yep, or better. Yeah, Randa was at Publix with her bag today, and the cashier was pretty excited about it, about the bag, and she said she has one too, and she said that the stuffer, the packer was saying, yeah, but they should be wider.
Yeah.
Put everything in one.
Yeah, so But they're out, they're out there. If Publix is where you want them to go. Publix. That should be.
Yeah, they probably would do it.
They're actually awaiting a decision from the council on something, so they might be inclined.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Ah, someone's gonna.
5
have
more
a
spots, 1 visit.
That's right, that's right.
complex. Bingo. And it is Christmas,
Cool.
people are paying money out.
As long as you're not getting something personal out of it, then it isn't good pro quo. And you can do it for the good of the town.
Yeah, there's my notes on that.
All right. Okay. Done with the bags? Nothing more to go? Okay. Fertilizer ordinance update. Chad, how's the review with various state agencies going?
Yeah, so as you're aware, FDP gave a good to go email. FDAX responded. It sounds like they want to review the actual ordinance once it's been drafted. And FDAX and what was the other? IFAS. IFAS was okay. They gave some input regarding testing the soil before adding phosphate, which I think is reasonable and consistent with Seminole County.
Okay. So are we ready to draft it and forward it to council then?
Yeah, we're waiting for direction from council when they would like the first reading.
It doesn't need to be written first?
I think it has to go to John Herron, the attorney, first.
It has-
For him to check it legally.
Okay.
And then when he finds it to be appropriate, he'll throw it on our agenda.
The draft or just the permission to write the draft?
I would say just go ahead and do it, because we monkey with things anyway, so it's always a draft.
Yeah, and I think that the attorney has been involved with this. I don't know how intimately he's been working with Chad, but he was the driver to go through and bounce all these off of these different agencies.
Yeah, and per John Herron, we're ready to draft, if that's the question.
Yeah. So let's do, I would like to it'd be good to get this in front of council while it's this council.
I'll have to talk to the manager.
If at all possible, because, a new council probably wants to start over. You make it their own. So if we can, and if Roger wants to talk to me, I'm around too, for the most part.
If you want me to contact John or anything, if you feel hesitant about communicating with him, I'd be happy to do that, so let me know.
Yeah, I typically don't talk to the attorney
Right,
unless they come to us, because I know that billable hours, that kind of stuff, it can be
Right.
messy.
but I have no hesitancy, so
Yeah.
if you need to
Yep.
communicate with him, I'll do it.
Well, more voices are better.
Yeah.
So Roxanne, we do appreciate anything to expedite this, to get
So
it going during
Do
this.
you want me to tell him to go ahead and move it ahead and put it on the agenda as soon as possible, or do you have further input to give him?
Well, I think it has to be written. Chad, have you written the draft or?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Okay, so that would take a little,
Okay,
yeah.
then if you'll let me know when you give it to him, like just CC me on the email that you send it to him, and then I'll give him so many days and I'll start bugging him and say, when is this going to be on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that'd be good to get. That would be something that's been on the agenda for a while. Okay,
Oh, we're not quite done, I'm sorry. Okay, something that you asked at the last meeting was, does Bay Oaks fertilize? Because golf courses are usually exempt from any county fertilizer ordinances.
the ball fields, you mean?
Right, so I asked about the ball fields, and she said they only water and edge and trim or mow it, and there's a company that they contract with that does aeration, where the little dirt clouds go flying out the back. Yeah, and she said she's not sure if they do any fertilizing at all. So I don't know if you wanted to make that exempt. It looks pretty uniform. The grass looks, there's hardly any weeds in there, so I don't know. She said she doesn't know if Dominic wasn't there. She doesn't know if she's going to text me when she finds out, but,
Or who's she?
oh, sorry.
Allison.
No, it
No?
was at Bay Oaks. It wasn't, her name slips it wasn't Danielle. It was, anyway. I know her name and I can't think of it right now.
Wasn't Sarah?
No, it wasn't Sarah. Super tall, brown hair. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, she's going to text me when she finds out if there is fertilizer. But since it's a town contract, you might be able to find out. Or Allison, too. I didn't think of asking Allison. Yeah.
You know, the ball fields look great, and if they're
do.
not fertilizing
They
now,
do.
then I don't think we need to give them an exemption.
I don't know if they're fertilizing, but then I don't know. She said another company comes and does that. So, but she said she never sees them. Maybe once a year they do the aeration. So I don't know. If she doesn't see them out there and she's there every day. But they do water. I mean, it's green anyway, which is water, so I'm with you.
And I think, you know, yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't fertilize. I don't feel a need to give anybody an exemption. And we don't have any golf courses.
That would just be it, those two. And they don't do anything except those two fields. So it would just be those two fields if we did give an exemption, those two fields. But I'm with you. I feel like we don't need to. They do keep it super short. If there is any invasives in there, it's still, you know, it's about this long. So it's not like you're, you know. And with the sprinkler system, it's green. Yeah. It's pretty much green all the time.
The other thing, you know, is just for simplicity. I think the less exemptions stuff you can give, the more simple the ordinance is, easier it is to deal with.
Yeah, let's put it without, and then if they need an exception, let them ask for it. But there's no signs up that say, be careful from what we
No.
sprayed or anything,
never
so they
seen it
probably
either.
haven't.
No, and she even said that. She said, I don't even think they spray for bugs, you know,
Right.
like you said, because she said she's never seen anything.
Right,
except
especially with
the
children using that ball
thatcher.
field, they'd have to warn.
I've seen the dethatcher guy out there 3 or 4 times. You know, especially right now, they'll do it, so.
And so, you know, Chad, you don't need anything from us from drafting this. I mean, you pretty much, you're modeling enough to the Seminole County ordinance, right?
I mean, that's what I understood as y'all's consensus as a board or a committee to draft following the Seminole County, so that's what I was going to do, unless you have some other motion.
No, I think that's,
Yeah, that's the one that had the verbiage that we thought would pass and met our requirements. So that should be the one, Chad.
you need a motion from us to go forward. Are you okay with?
I mean, that would be direction to council, but if you want to solidify that in your advice to council.
You know, I think that it's still a little ways away from getting to council, so I don't really know to make a motion towards council when we don't have anything
Yeah, let's
that we're
look
making
at
a
this.
motion to.
Yeah, let's read it at least
Yeah,
before we get questioned on it.
all right. Okay. Anything else with the fertilizer ordinance? Shannon? Steve?
Sounds good.
Mary Rose?
Excellent news. Thank you, Chad. You did a whole
that's
lot
great.
with that.
Thanks, Chad.
It's great news.
Okay, water quality. I'm not sure what this agenda item is specifically about.
I believe that was to do with the Everglades.
Oh, with Proposition 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done nothing else on that. I don't know if we're still interested in that or not.
Okay, refresh our memories.
Ray Judah had said something about it at that meeting. on
That's
Tuesday.
right,
Yeah.
and with all of the thoughts about what to do with all of the water that's coming from the north of Florida and needs to get into the glades and out again, one of the propositions that was spoken to, and it seems to be very important to Ray Judah and seems to make sense, is to buy a certain amount of land that borders Lake O, and it's called Option 6. And it seemed to me like something that we could get behind, and I didn't do anything on it. So how about we postpone it till the next one, and I get something we can look at?
When is that going to be for us to vote on?
After I don't know. What I was thinking is, if we agree that this is a good idea, that we think we would want the town to promote, that we as a committee would move and vote that the town should do this. So I thought what I would do is try and convince us that this makes sense.
So this is something that the state legislature is going to vote on?
It's a possibility. It's a way that they could use their funds to purchase this land and then use it to allow the water to flow from Lake O unencumbered down into the glades. And my understanding is there is the money for it. The land is available for purchase. It's just a matter of doing it. but I didn't get anything done on it.
I believe there's been some recent news, so maybe check recent news. There may have been a recent purchase by the state of,
Do you think that's the one, though, Chad? That's what I don't know. Or is it another piece?
sure.
Okay. All right, I will do it for the next meeting. I'll get a map that has all of those color-coded for us to look at.
All right. Yeah, so just, write something else to us, get it to Chad, and he can forward it, and we can have a chance to review it maybe before the
will.
meeting.
I will do that.
Okay. Anything else on that? All right, we'll move on. The Magic Tree Grant.
My tree grants?
Yeah.
Can I talk? I'm just kidding. I'll make it short. Okay, so the big tree grant that I wanted, my $75,000 DEP, closed for this year, so I can't apply for the nice big one.
That was the one to replace the
that was the
invasives
DEP.
with the native?
Yes. There are some other smaller, not specific for Florida. There are some Florida state ones. The DEP one was the big one, and I kind of it was at the close, almost at the closing when we talked about it before, and then the date I think closed in November. So I went to go look at it again, and but I could still, after the year, it'll come back up again. It's a yearly. So that one didn't go through. There are some other ones I still have, I don't know if they all end at the end of the year or what. I don't know anything about grants, but.
That's the thing, I assume the town has to apply for the grant.
No, it says on there individual, but then,
But then individual, maybe for to do your trees?
oh, I see what you mean. Right, so, right. But I'm probably going to talk with Allison about doing all that because
I know that
she's
Allison
already-
does the,
she said she's
The
done a whole
tourist
lot
people.
of grant writing.
No,
and
this
she
is-
could help me.
okay.
Like just, yeah. But she told me too, and it is true, I've looked at some of them and there's just a form. It's not like you have to write a whole book on why you want it. There's a form, But to do it on behalf of the town, some of them, she said, you don't have to. You don't have to say you're from the town. Some of them you can do. Although, I wouldn't do it like you just said for like my tree. By the way, have you noticed right on Estero, there's 2 right now blooming Brazilian peppers. One's right out here.
It's not on the town property, is it?
Neither of them are. I looked into that. So tree grant we can put on for next, because my big disappointment was that anyway.
Well, because these things
I
take
think-
a long time.
Yeah, they do.
And I think it's probably good to get on the radar for next year, especially if it's kind of a
be
blanket thing where we get a
ongoing.
pool of money and then we can go out and then approach people about replacing their trees without having to say, we'll replace them next year.
It can be ongoing. We can get grants on an ongoing basis. It's invasive tree removal is ongoing in the state, so it's not like we're ever going to get to the bottom of them here. Yeah. There are still, Arbor Day has one, and there are a few from the state, and I want to say Florida Pest Plant Society, but they're all much smaller amounts than the DEP grant, so.
Now, the big money is you think we're doing more trees or being able to do the bigger ones?
Well, I wanted to start with just trees, not shrubs, not vines. I wanted to just start with trees, and then we have to contract with a removal company, and then we have to contract with like a plant nursery. That's what I want. We could do shrubs and other. There's any little invasive orchid that comes, a little tiny little pink flower, but that you can pull out yourself, So I wanted to start with the trees, and
Invasive orchid?
yeah, it's tiny little flower, and it makes a great big bulb. They usually clumps of them. I have them in my yard, used to.
Okay, well, I think, I think you're doing all the right things. Let's just keep an eye on the calendar and make sure that we get our ducks in a row to get this. And, we can apply as soon as the
Yeah.
application date comes up. Don't have to wait until the end of it.
Some of them only have a really short application date too, and they're on there, and the application date, one of them was 6 days in August. Oh, well, missed that one. So you gotta check a lot and keep up with them, so.
Shannon, I'll help with that if you like. Just forward me any of those addresses, and I'll see if I can push it along, too.
Were you all aware of the Adopt a Tree program that might go on? I know, isn't that, you're involved with that directly, aren't you?
Yep, that's on council's agenda for approval.
All right, were you guys aware of it?
Oh, what is that?
Give 'em the executive
So
summary.
council approved $10,000 for an Adopt a Tree program. Ms. Roxanne can fill in as well. We have two dates, January 17th, I believe, and our April, I believe the Friday before the April 26th or somewhere thereabouts. So that's proposed in front of council for their approval. 2 tree species for each event, giveaway to residents, business owners based on Fort Myers Beach, and nonprofit organizations based in
Are they
Fort Myers Beach.
native trees?
Yes, so the first the proposal was for gumbo limbos and sea grapes. And the second one proposed is mahoganies and paradise tree.
No live oaks?
We're trying to keep it to 2 trees each time,
Okay.
and we hope to continue the program year in and year out, so we hope to change trees as we go.
That sounds really good.
We started with the gumbo limbo because it's the town tree.
I thought mahogany was indigenous to South America. It's native to here?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's, I know live oaks get huge and it's a lifelong, yeah. But there's not a lot of people planting them anymore. We don't have a lot of the big ones, so, yeah.
So when is this, how is this program going to work, and when is it going to start?
Chad is administering the program. It hasn't been officially approved, although I anticipate that it will receive approval at the next council meeting. And the first one is Florida Arbor Day, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we may be contacting MRF members to actually help us with, checking people in or, paperwork things on Arbor Day to pass these out. I think the plan is to have people come to Bay Oaks
Yes, ma'am.
and pick them up. Chad's really been doing it all, so I
so-
want to give him the credit. It
Sure.
was, I pushed it through the council during the budget season to ask for the money. And then Chad created the program, and it's up for approval. I can't imagine that it's going to go down.
And so what's the target? I mean, how, are these small, inexpensive trees, try to get a lot of them, or is there bigger trees that were?
7 gallon?
7 gallon at $35 or $40 a piece. It gives us about 250 trees total, so we'll split that between the 2 events. First
And
come,
then-
first serve.
She said paperwork, so are you gonna, if you run out of trees, then,
We're going to have people apply in advance, aren't we?
oh, okay, and then pick them
I
up?
think
then
we're
pick 'em up.
doing, I don't know about the advance. I
Okay.
didn't make any provisions for that. I think
Okay.
we're trying to keep it simple. Day of, let everybody know, market the event, and first come, first serve, give them some sense of urgency to come and get it.
But the idea of paperwork, I guess, is that we're going to have to check that they are Fort Myers Beach residents, because the reason we lost our prior tree program is we found out people were coming and taking our trees off the island and planting them. So we're going to check IDs to make sure that have some kind of requirement that you own property at the beach.
And are there any conditions to this, like they can't take them back out, or?
I mean, there's an agreement signature, so to plant in their yard or their property,
Quantity is 1.
quantity of 1.
Quantity
Per-
of 1 only.
And then if they aren't all taken, someone can come and get a second.
And it was discussed at the last council MNP meeting that if we didn't have people show up and we had leftover trees, that we might offer them to the Women's Club, because they're doing a big rebuild thing and they might need more than 1 tree and they have a lot of property. So the town is all about making sure that we get them distributed if we don't have people come and get them.
Sounds like a great program. I was recently in Key West, and the vegetation in Key West is amazing. In the old part of town, You don't see, I didn't see any yards that were just rock.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of trees.
It was
a lot
all,
of shade.
and I don't know, I can't identify what's invasive and what's not, like Randa was picking out a lot of
Like
stuff.
all the iguanas. Did you see all the iguanas?
Oh,
they
yeah,
got?
a lot of iguanas.
What about the chickens? Did you see those too?
One or two.
1 or 200? Yeah, the cats.
All right. Okay, anything else with tree grants or adopt a tree? Yeah, and if there's anything Murph can do to help. We can also write, release, press releases, that kind of stuff.
What's the date in January?
January 17th.
Block out January 17th on your calendar and just go to Bay Oaks and find Chad.
I already planned to pick one up, so I'll be there.
Yes.
9 a.m. to noon.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
9 a.m.
I'm going to come get one. Got a spot.
17th.
Will disappear.
Excellent. Oh, I hope so. Hopefully they'll all get planted
Yeah.
right here.
I'm not sure if we'll be around, but I think that Randa's got our yard pretty
Reserve
much
one?
booked out anyway.
They reserve one. I think they'll trust you.
We
I can pick
go
it up for
gumbo
you.
limbos, we can just cut a branch off of one of our other ones and
Oh, really?
stick it in the
could-
ground.
oh,
We've done that
just
a couple times.
Propagate them that easy? Wow.
Yo, they're like the living hedge. They
I
have
get
them.
these little ones coming up my yard all the time. The birds, I guess, just deposit. They just start coming up.
Well, you can dig them out and take them to the adopter tree program. We'll have a few more trees.
One of them I left, it's like 12 feet.
Wow.
Doing good, yeah.
Okay. Let's move on then. The pollinator neighborhood. I wrote kind of an idea with that to bounce off of council. Did I send it to you, Chad, like 2 months ago? A month and a half ago?
I have, but I think it may have slipped.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll fire that back up again. Be good to do something this season. I think maybe the women's club would be a good candidate too, to try to join in with the pollinator neighborhood. And, they have a lot of land.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it's nice to have the parking, but they can also maybe, edge it with some nice.
What about redoing the, wasn't there a butterfly garden at the school besides the one at Bay Oaks? Didn't the school do something? The elementary school?
The Community Foundation does the butterfly garden at the Beach Elementary School.
And there's also, the school was doing something that was separate, and the Methodist Church is in the process of doing some planting too. They're pulling out some, I think, invasives, and I think they were just dealing with, I offered to try to get involved, but I think they're already dealing with all native. So
Oh, that's good.
those should get the right plants in there. Okay. Invasive lizards.
Oh, okay, ready? Okay, I called about, sorry, can I just go ahead?
No, this is like the best
Can I
part of the
yap?
meeting.
Sorry,
It is, exactly.
sorry.
Can I get photos?
Okay.
Your kills.
Oh, that's my manatee one. Okay, my trapper one. All right, I think I called 5 trappers. I got them off the FWC website, and I couldn't get a lot to call me back, and I think 2 of them were disconnected. So the one guy that I did talk to, I got 2 questions out, and then he said, I'm at the courthouse, and I can't talk right now. Not promising. So he said, yes, he can remove the iguanas at the Mound House, which is only, because Lee County is in charge of Matanzas Pass and
Correct.
Bowditch. So
Bowditch, yeah.
we only really have the Mound House, right, in Bay Oaks as a,
In the town.
like a area, as in square foot
Right.
of the town, right? So, so he said he could come and do, he also said he could train, like, I don't know who suggested that a trapper come and train our public works staff to recognize habitat, be able to trap them. And then I had all kinds of questions. Poison that the feral cats won't eat, poison that the raccoons won't eat, that just, I had all these questions. I didn't get any, how can we spot them, their tunnels, their eggs? I didn't get any of these questions answered. But one thing, was it Rick Bauer? Yeah, that was his name. He said there's a drop box for invasives, but I thought maybe the town could get one for those cane toads, or what's that other one, the MUFO?
The
Bofo.
bufo.
Toad and the king
Yeah, it's the
toad.
same thing.
They're the same thing.
What do you mean a
Okay, yeah.
drop box? To put the
Because-
corpses in?
Well, no, so you can put, if you don't want to kill it, because remember he said everybody's into the humane, you don't want to just smash on it or something, but you want to kill it humanely, so,
Put it in your freezer.
well, that's what Bill did with
Well,
his, that's not
and
what
I
I did.
don't know how
but-
many people have a live iguana and trap
Oh,
size
pretty big.
freezer.
Oh, okay.
He
All
had a
Pellet,
big,
I'm
Well,
thinking of
Chest
those little
freezer.
frogs.
He just put the whole thing in there, and then when it froze,
what I
then he
do.
took it out. But we had to shake ours into a bag because those little suckers stick to the freaking truck.
Take a,
And then after a while, I said, "This is just a bunch of blankety blank." So my husband took his pellet gun out and shot the freaking anyway. So all right. So by the way, I'm up to 12. I don't know if you're up to.
12.
So
We went on like a real lull, and then,
I know we are too. I think they all left because they.
but then Miranda caught a couple the other day, and we're sitting out there today, and we're watching one inside the trap, nibbling at the chicken
Oh,
skin
yeah.
and not tripping the trap.
How there's some, yeah. Well, ours, we had, like, that one trap, it didn't close, so one, he had his head stuck in there. So anyway, that was kind of easy to kill him, but anyway. Okay, so, anyway, we can easily get Jethro the Trapper from Lehigh. Do I need to go on? Anyway, when he ever calls me, it's apparently still at the courthouse.
Unless
Been
his
there
family
since,
strikes oil and moves to Beverly Hills.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I don't think it'll be an issue to get a trapper to come get those at the Mound House and then train our public works. And if we want,
Now, is it a problem at the Mound House? Do we need to?
well, they
That's where
have,
we can easily.
Oh, if we want.
And I think
Yeah, he would.
there's two different things, and also there's a different weight because of the type of invasive. That the way that Sanibel and the county does it, at least on Captiva, is that if you have iguanas, you can call them and they will send a trapper out. I think they hire, they would just go through a contractor.
Right.
Or if you've got the monitor lizards, they'll send
Oh,
somebody
for
out.
sure, yeah, for them.
Because those are a risk to either property or pets or
Right.
people, so they're a little more severe. The smaller lizards, they're a different story, and they're tricky to get a hold of.
they don't trip the little door. They're too small, like you said.
And that's like the smallest, maybe a smaller trap might be a good idea too, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see a big one going in there and then getting back out, though, because his
Yeah,
rear end is hanging out the back. I don't know.
so I think think as far as, we have two different tasks we can take. We're doing a little public information. The latest story in this paper is about lizards, if you guys haven't
Yes,
seen
that
it
was
yet.
excellent,
It
by
is.
the way. It's
Nice
very
job.
good.
And I was
Good job,
talking to
Bill.
Dexter at the Mound House, and he said, yeah, the agamas are just now getting to the Mound House. He hasn't
Oh,
seen them any.
yeah.
And this picture I took here of this big male
Yeah.
Yeah.
was right at the gate
Oh, yeah.
of the Mound House.
You got a female in there, too.
Yeah, this is from our deck. It's funny, I see him all the time. I walk out with my camera. So maybe put cameras out.
We have some big females, but I haven't seen any great big males for a while at our house. I think we got all the big ones.
Yeah, ours are coming in from, they're getting reinforcements. So I think, the proposal we can make to council is I think that would make sense, is to mirror saying iguanas and monitor lizards, which we don't really have, or anything in the future, like pythons, if we start getting them, to have the town can either train town employees, but I know the town employees are already doing a lot of different things, or just have a budget item to have contract trappers come out and trap them. And then with the smaller lizards on town property, we can train people to put out traps, people like Dexter.
Little ones?
Yeah, the little ones. And at least at the Mound House and maybe Bay Oaks. I don't know if they're around Bay Oaks.
Well, I think, like Mary Roach just brought up, getting rid of them, I think we have to. It would be hypocritical to say, oh, they can stay and they're on town property, but we've been asked by council to do an invasive lizard
Right.
policy, so I know they're cool, they're 5 feet and they're really neat, but I think we have to. And they're also neighbor seawalls that they could be, he said they burrow and they can damage seawalls.
Talking about iguanas.
Right.
I'm talking about the big,
Iguanas,
yeah, the
green
big
iguanas,
ones, yeah.
And iguana, I think, and I'll make a proposal, let's make a motion, but I think that I think probably consensus that we should recommend to the town that they offer to individual homeowners to come and trap their iguanas and do it, on town property.
I mean,
Before it gets to be a problem.
Because you can't really go in private property and take somebody's iguanas unless they want you to. So if people
yeah, they need
request,
to call, right.
then you go out to that property.
Right.
But for the town itself, you're the same entity, so the town can just go and start removing them from the town property.
Right, and the difference being with Sanibel, they actually have their police force administrate it. So in this case, it would be what, the public works?
It
Who's gonna dispatch the trapper, let's say?
You mean
Oh, I see.
who's the operator gonna forward them to, and
Exactly.
who's gonna
administrate the
talk
program?
them and-
Exactly.
yeah,
Like I said,
yeah.
the police force does it at
Yeah.
Sanibel, and they just dispatch
call the police, yeah.
the Jethro to come out and remove
Jethro
it.
comes out?
I
Yeah.
would
So-
assume, well, I mean, it's up to the town. I don't want to get into the
Right, no, I'm
nuance
just
of the town
suggesting that
business.
that's how
Yeah.
it differs from Sanibel's plan.
Right. So the town has to come up with a way to administer it one way or the other, either if they're training their own people or just sending out contractors.
And then who would be the administrator of all that, the coordinator of all that?
And that's just,
Yeah, don't,
That's a Roger issue.
Yeah.
correct.
It
What
is.
you guys do is
Delegation.
move the town to
Right.
take a
Yeah.
particular action. He decides
Right.
how he administers it.
So,
Because even, yeah.
okay.
I'll make a motion.
So I will make a motion that we recommend to town council they adopt a invasive lizard control program that includes either using contractors or training staff to trap and euthanize iguanas and monitor lizards on town property immediately and based on requests from homeowners on private property.
Agames, because there's agames that,
Let's do one thing at a time,
Okay.
maybe. So that's one motion. So do I have a second?
A second?
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Now, the second motion, will the town adopt the policy of, and I'll mouth it first before I actually make the motion. The town will adopt the policy to trap other invasive lizards on town property. Because I think it's just too big of a job to have the town go and put these little traps
Everywhere.
everywhere that
residents.
someone complains about a lizard.
No, it's not, I don't think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but then we also, on the top of that, we can
Set
offer to
example.
share our expertise on lizard trapping with whoever wants it.
Yeah. We could possibly have another informational or a seminar or something, maybe something at the library, have a trapper come and talk, bring some traps and,
You guys
We
can
have to
do it.
find a trapper
I'll do
first.
it with you.
yeah, we might have to get a hold of him.
And I like the idea of a drop box. I'm just not quite sure how it'd work.
I don't either. He said they have one at where he works.
Because those suckers are fast.
I don't,
I mean, you have them in a trap thing, and once you open the door,
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe with a toad, I don't know. Maybe he was referring to
Probably the toads,
the
probably the
cane
buffalo
toad,
toads.
those
Yeah,
We should probably-
purple ones
Yeah.
or whatever.
do we have cane toads on the island?
We do, yeah.
Is
Oh,
that the
yeah.
purple ones?
No, they're anything larger than about a 3-inch toad is a cane toad. They get huge, they look like,
Oh, yeah.
large toads, yeah.
Yeah, we've had them for years down on the south
Yeah, we
end.
have
What are
Oh,
those
yeah.
little ones in my pond? They like to
If they're in
swim.
your pond, they're probably frogs. I mean, it could be toads.
Oh, those are those Cuban ones.
Oh,
Maybe.
Those are
tree frog-
invasive too.
Yeah.
The
Cuban
Cubans,
tree
though, it's hard to identify,
I
distinguish
have those
between
little
them and the
tiny
native
green ones. I guess those are native.
Bufos are the
Those are
ones that are
native.
poisonous to
And those-
dogs and such.
Those are
yeah.
purple
The big one, no, they're really big.
and they're purple.
No, they're
What
not
are the
purple.
purple frogs?
They're dark, they're,
Dark,
no,
yeah.
they're not purple.
Okay,
Best
well.
way
They
to
just
grab
look like
'em
a
is
big
Okay, well,
frog.
just so you know, I've seen purple frogs. It's like,
Okay.
maybe- Great big
They're
purple.
small toads, yeah, they're
big.
small.
I thought it was a frog.
Better bring it in and let us look at it.
It's the RuPaul toad.
You can,
Thought it
if you get a picture, you can send it to the, remember the,
I've got one.
I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he helped me, I had a curly tail lizard without the curly tail.
Yeah, that was interesting. I bet you they are getting their tails eaten.
Yeah, okay. I'm just kind of catching up my notes here. So what do you want to do? I mean, would we deal with frogs in a separate, cane toads in a separate thing? Because it's not really a lizard, they're amphibians.
Nobody's complained about the toads, have
Oh,
they?
you just have to,
Nobody's-
Yeah.
you take a dog waste bag, put it in your hand, you grab
Right.
the toad, turn it inside out and tie it.
That's right.
Throw it in your freezer.
Are they bad if you touch it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You don't
Oh,
want-
yeah.
Oh, what happens?
You'll foam at the mouth.
neurological
I will.
Toxin?
neurotoxin, yeah.
I will phone.
But
with
it's
good
bad
to
for,
know.
I think it's bad
Pets
for
the
like
most,
dogs
yeah,
and
right,
things, right? It's
right.
bad for pets.
Maybe that's why my head hurts.
Right. Plus they eat everything.
No, you don't want to touch it.
I always pick up frogs. I like frogs.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to make a second motion then. Okay, so I make a motion that the town adopts a policy of capturing other invasive lizards, including the agama and curlytail, on town property. Is that the motionable thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I got the impression at the Mound House that they would like to do this, they probably just need the direction, the okay to do it.
What we're recommending is trapping. We don't want them shot because I think FWC is saying you can shoot the iguanas also, but we don't want the town to do that. We want them,
I wouldn't recommend shooting anything in a town this dense.
right. Okay.
Okay. And I think if you want to do, and you know, we can offer up whatever, I can write a how-to thing. The idea of a Dropbox, though, that might, because a lot of people are very squeamish about how do you kill them.
Yeah.
I lent a trap to a neighbor, and he was drowning them.
Oh, not good.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've never had a lizard come back to life and tell you what he prefers. They're a little morbid when they're frozen. Well,
They also
literally
change
morbid.
color.
Yeah, they lose because of males.
They do. They look.
They're no longer dominant,
Grayish,
and
yeah.
they lose their bright colors. Okay. Okay, anything else on invasive lizards? Okay. Manatees.
Can I talk? Okay.
You can
All
always
right. I
talk.
called FWC because I was instructed to. So I actually was connected with a biologist, and she said at that time Brevard County had 65 total deaths, and Lee County had 66, which I thought, oh. She said usually Lee County is the highest, Brevard or Lee is the highest in manatee deaths, and she said the FWC is looking at Lee County already to see what they can do to lower the deaths. She said the majority of them are in the Caloosahatchee, which we already discussed. We had, I don't know, 7 or 8 in Estero Bay and Carlos
About
Pass.
six.
Yeah.
Up to.
There's a couple near
four.
Buccaneer Bay, a couple in the pass, right?
Yeah.
And so she told me that she had already done, she had a lot right on the tip of her mind. She said, actually, when you look at the numbers, I thought there'd be more deaths in the winter months when there's more people here, but she said, no, most of the deaths are in the summer months. So that kind of tells you that maybe it's more locals that aren't paying attention to I don't know.
No, they're more active. The water's warm, so
Well, yeah. Now
they distribute throughout the whole environment. And in the winter, they congregate to warmer areas, so they're by the.
You see, one of my theories was that, you know, with Caloosahatchee has that power plant, which is a big,
Exactly, yeah.
but that's in the winter.
That's right.
So they might
That's
just
what I'm
stay
saying.
up there.
But, yeah, I figure them going back and forth to the power plant, they'd be in the river a lot. But, well, anyway.
So she said approximately 25% of the deaths are from boating. I thought it would be higher than that. That was her statistic. She said 25%. She was a biologist from
Well,
FWC.
You
She
know,
just
maybe
had-
she said the right thing. Maybe she didn't write the right thing down.
Well, she said,
I'm just
she
kidding.
said perinatal is a cause of death, which is a juvenile, and they don't know. It dies because it's young, or it didn't get enough to eat, or it wasn't from a boat. Then she said cold stress kills them. She said red tide can kill them. And then natural causes, because they're old. So she said it's 25% for boating, and I thought, that didn't really seem like a lot. So that's why she went over the other areas with me. And I said, well, what can we do? She said, we can try to get, because I said I saw them earlier going out of the channels close to the keys in the bay when I do my water testing. She said, we would have to ask the patrols to be earlier than that because there's nobody on the water. The sheriff's not out that early, FWC's not out that early, and the Coast Guard's not out that early. Although I don't even know if the Coast Guard goes in the bay. So then I said, well, who are responsible? Who do we send anything to? And I said, I can't get a video that early. I don't know of anybody that would be out on their their bayfront and they get a video. And if I did, it would be too far. How are you gonna, I don't have identifying numbers. I don't have any way to know whose boat that is. I can just get a blurry video in the dark, while I'm water testing. I'm supposed to get a video of this. So she said, we can petition the governor for more protections. And a lot of it is like that article that you have right there, Bill. Until they change the classification of that waterway. Remember that whole article that we read? Yeah, right. And so we would have to petition to get changes made with the governor for more protections in more areas. So we can contact our representatives. I mean, she was telling me this is what we can do, for the big picture. For local only, the FWC does permitting for the marinas. And like you suggested, Mary Rose, to Leah, we go there and we see if they can have somebody sign that they know they have to stay within the zones and the manatee are active and your boat motor can kill them and, just make them do one more step to tell them to get. So these were just some.
They already must sign some kind of paperwork that says that they
I
are
don't-
responsible for following all the rules.
I don't
Talking
know.
about rental boats?
Yeah,
Yeah,
rental
rental
Yeah, I
boats.
can
like-
comment on that.
They must.
Yeah,
I went and talked to Fishtail, that was my to-do.
okay.
Good.
And they're not doing anything, there's some posters there, but I talked to
Yeah.
the manager, and he said they don't, they're more worried about completing all the legal documents they have on insurance and all that kind of good stuff. So they really don't point out best practices for manatee safety, having a spotter and making sure they don't run outside the channel and things like that. But they said they'd be willing to hand out a sheet to the people if we provided them, or if somebody provided them.
That's almost verbatim what FWC said. There's a poster that they're required, but then she said
They have,
too, you
yeah,
can
I
go
took
in there
photos.
locally and tell them, could you
Yeah,
please go
and
over
they're
this?
happy to cooperate to anything we want to do. I mean, they're completely open to it, so I imagine all the marinas would be.
Yeah, so that's something we could do. Go to the marinas and ask them. Even,
Collateral, yeah.
could we go to the ones on the other side, on San Carlos Island? I don't even think we have jurisdiction there, huh? No?
Carlos?
Just ours?
No, just to
No,
like the
just
middle
us.
of the
Yeah,
channel,
it's- for us,
just a
it's
little ways
Moss.
offshore.
Well, the town has nice little postcards out there with, oh, but no, it's dolphins. It's not manatees, but it's the same idea, being
But it would be
careful with them.
nice if it was a thing and they signed it. That would just be nice.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna hopefully read it before they sign it and see, okay, well, and then they also said you can use polarized glasses to see them better. And you can tell them, they make those little swirly marks when they descend. There's things you can look for. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like something we can do.
So, yeah, something on there. Tell them exactly,
Yeah.
where they are. They're close to please stay within the channel. Stuff like that. There's signs you can see of them.
We'll put together some kind of informative sheet that the rental places can,
I would bet there's
Hand out.
already a sheet.
yeah, I
I
bet there
think
is.
so. I think we go to
Yeah.
the manatee.
Save the manatee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save the Manatee
Yeah.
We
Club,
could print
yeah.
one off,
Right.
right? There might be, that would be a
And
good
just make
idea.
sure they're available.
Like Save the Manatees, that's a website, Steve?
It's a club. Yeah,
Okay.
started by
Oh, that's
Jimmy
right.
Buffett, yeah,
That's right,
back in the
that's right.
80s, yeah.
Okay.
And I reached out to them, and they gave me a lot of information. A long email explaining all the different nuanced stuff. Because a lot of times they say, if they find a manatee in spot X, it could have died somewhere else and drifted around for a while before it got there. Problem, okay, I'm just trying to write some ideas. So it was mentioned by one of the things that Leah passed around, that the town can petition the FWC to reclassify sections as manatee zones. Now, the only one I really think I heard that was feasible for that was Buccaneer Bay. Now, is that already wakeless there, though?
No, in the back of my mind, I think Bruce Butcher brought it up, that I think he was questioning, I guess the results are, again, that's neither here nor there, but he lives, I think, on Buccaneer Bay, and he said that although it's not, or he tried to actually change it, and they told him he couldn't, that's what it was, but nobody runs back there. It's not a, yeah, I think so. I think it's small, and there's no reason that you would be going full speed back there. So he said most of it's just motoring through there anyway.
Just one thing I can add, I'm also the liaison to the Anchorage Advisory Group, and they have tried to slow down things just for safety in boating and things like that. Leah indicated that she'd been advised that it's easy petition. It's not. We've tried for years to get more slow zones, and if anything, the pressure is in the state to, the boaters associations all fight it. So it's not as easy as it was portrayed, because
do
that
you-
group has already tried for years.
When you say you petition as the town, who do you petition?
You petition the state. The other thing that Leah was mentioning about the waterways, the town is very different than Cape Coral. Most of our waterways are, that we are not a town full of canals like Cape Coral is. So we only have jurisdiction over the water out 1,000 feet. So we cannot even ask about most of Estero Bay because it's not within our jurisdiction. So we control our canals and Buccaneer, whatever that's called, lagoon. It's really more of a lagoon than a bay. It's shallow.
What about at the pass, the first bridge? That's not even, you can't even go.
Carlos?
Yeah.
We own 1,000 feet out from our shores.
So what good does it do?
Is the
And
jurisdiction of the town.
It's a lot wider than that, so.
Yeah.
Half
The
of
rest
it.
of it's in the county or, well, mostly county.
Yeah.
That's the same, the same thing about all the boats that are anchoring. A lot of them are outside the jurisdiction.
Well, and we have a land lease with the state for the mooring field, and we had to pursue that, and there's big processes to go through, and it takes a long time, and
Okay, well, so, and we can make an attempt to see if it, because I understand that Bruce as an individual probably wouldn't have a lot of weight compared to, let's say, if something would come from the town council. Because the town council represents the entire town. We can look into that to see if it's, but then, before we do that, we have to have a spot that we really want to reclassify. And the Buccaneer Lagoon, if it's not a place where people are going fast, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to target it.
I don't even know that any were found dead in there.
And then there was a couple, well, I don't know, Bruce said they were misrepresenting where they were, and he said they were Buccaneer Bay.
Right.
But the spreadsheet didn't say that.
Yeah, there's a GPS where they pick them up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the pass is a big spot, but you probably get a lot of resistance trying to make that slow, because there's a lot of boat traffic. It's like a washing machine on weekends out there.
Well, they didn't find any big Carlos. They found one in Little Carlos Pass, which is south. Even the next bridge south of Big Carlos Pass is one that was on the sheet this year.
So, I don't know. If anybody has any ideas on where we could target a reclassification. The other thing is, I assume there are restrictions to what you're allowed to put on, like, official channel markers. Because the Save the Manatee Club, they had a lot of really good signs and things, but if you don't have a place to put them, we could look at maybe getting some and making them available to individuals to put them on their docks.
One suggestion had been that since the canals are town property, that there would be basically a sign at the end of each one before you enter the bay, as you're coming and going from the bay. And I don't know what that would look like. They'd have to, I don't know if they put a piling in and a post at the end of each one.
Where it makes sense, though, to put them, there's a lot of different canals. But the one that comes from Fishtail, that has a lot of traffic on it, a lot of boat traffic coming in and out of there. We could do a bit of a targeted thing. I don't know, the next biggest I can think of is near the Mound House. But the Mound House is another thing. On the Mound House dock facing out, I
A
don't
lot of
know,
manatees right there, though. I always see them when I'm.
by the Mound House.
Yep. Just north of that too, on the east side of the channel. I see a bunch there all the time.
So with regards to posting signs, it's, my understanding is it's against the law to post signs regulating vessel speed without FWC approval and other associated permits you might need through the Coast Guard.
But we can put out, warning, watch out for manatees, that kind of thing. We can't imply that they can't go the speed they're allowed to go, right? So you can't put a speed limit sign out in front of your house saying,
Right,
speed limit 10 miles an hour in front of my house.
So, but so you're just saying put a manatee information, be aware or something, not no wake or something.
Right, you can't, yeah, 'cause that's what you can't do.
There are signs back there already for manatees, frankly, and actually, you can't run outside the channel for half the year because of manatees. And I believe that's on the signs, April to November, I think.
Yeah, April 1st through November 15th, the south side of the island is slow speed, and that kind of coordinates with that warmer period that you were alluding to earlier. And then on the north side of the island, it's actually slow speed all year round on the bay side. I have a map you all want to take a look after.
Slow speed meaning no wake.
Slow speed means, no, it's not no wake. It means that your bow should not be elevated or you should not be planing. Is my understanding. But there's a definition probably in statute.
It does seem like, different boats seem to have different parameters. Some boats, like pontoons, seem to be able to go faster without producing the
Kicking a
kind of
bunch
wave.
No.
I've
That's
seen
the
them go
truth.
full tilt when I'm out there water testing, and they're not in the channel all year.
Well, half of the year you can.
Oh, they do all the time, all year. They're just going as fast as they can, as close to the island as they can to go get deep sea fishing, I guess.
They should be under 25 miles an hour.
Oh, they're,
Yeah.
and then they make the big, well, I'm gonna kayak and I'm trying to water test, and they're like, here's the waves coming, like, oh, thank you.
So here's after this conversation, what I'd recommend we can pursue is, one is come up with informational signs either from like from the Save the Manatee Club that we could purchase and make available for people to put on their docks, and for the town to put up in key locations, like maybe the in Buccaneer Bay or in some of the more popular canals. One thing we could recommend doing. And then those are informational, so nothing, no new regulations or anything. The second, instead of giving a sheet handout, we could look at making stickers, or if we can find stickers that they can put on rental boats, because stickers won't blow away. So something that the rental companies would put on the cockpit of the boat, on the bridge, whatever you call it in a smaller boat, that would, have the message there that, boats kill manatees. And
That would be good to talk about with Justin too, because I don't know if there's a lot of room on those, What do you think, Steve? Is there room on a,
Oh, yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Is there a standard place to put it? But yeah, there's probably some place on
there's enough room on the,
the console.
yeah?
And Murph did something when I first got involved, a sticker, an informational sticker, but I think it was more broad and it was just a bunch of text. I think something more of an impact would be a simple message with something colorful.
Well, it would be good to have it where the driver of the boat is sitting, I agree.
Right.
Right there, to have,
And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be big, or we can have multiple smaller ones. Something I'm picturing something blue with an outline of a manatee saying, save the manatees.
Yeah, although,
know.
pontoon boats, they have those doors and everything. I mean, that's a whole, you can probably
Yeah.
put an 8 by 10 sheet up there, sticker.
on the way, so when you're driving it, you see it, like put
Right,
it
and all the
that
members
side.
do too, because part of it's
Yeah.
having people watch for them.
And you could put a big one.
Thing,
Those
yeah.
Those doors that's pretty good. That's a good place. And usually it's white. You could put a colorful sticker to see it against the white. Reinforce it,
That's a thought.
yeah.
You think this stuff is already available with the Manatee Club?
I think probably, I'm guessing the signs are, I know the signs are. I don't know about the stickers, and especially something very specific. But the other thing is that they will probably provide us with the graphics.
Right,
We can have stickers made.
right.
Yeah, or they might have like an idea of something somewhere. Maybe another club has one.
And then we
I
could,
can't imagine that there's not.
and I would, we could volunteer to go out and put the stickers on the boats. It's not
It's
that
easy
hard of a
enough,
job.
sure.
Okay, well, I'll put that on my list to go through and reach back out to the Save the Manatee or anybody else and see if we can find something that's already been done. None of these sound very expensive because they're not talking about that many signs or stickers.
Yeah, the important thing is let them know that we're working with them, and we'll do what we can.
If we get the manatees to carry signs.
Periscope up.
Yep.
Yeah, like those little flags on the
Diver
recumbent
down.
bicycles?
Oh, yeah, the diver down one.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, anything else with amenities? Okay. Small signs. And I've been really lax with the small signs. I haven't done anything. What size hole did you put in those? Because I've got some that I need to put holes in.
Grabbed one.
3/8 maybe, 3/8 inch maybe. I can tell you. Whichever size I needed to get the screws through that I was
Yeah.
using.
This will work.
I figured if I'm going to do mine up, it'd be good to do them kind of the same size. I guess I can go steal one of yours and put it there.
Yours?
Yeah, I can give you the hardware I'm using too.
Which I'm surprised, Chad, the one I put on Connecticut Street,
It's still there.
it's on the 2x4 support when they moved some trees. And I think they've taken out all the supports for all the other trees except for that
They left
one.
that one.
And I think they're
That's
leaving it there because the sign is
Oh,
there.
that's funny.
So
I'm sure it.
good. That's
and
pretty good.
I don't know about, probably driving, sooner or later the termites are going to be just a pile of termites at a sign. So if you reach out to like the Austin and those kind of guys and find out if, I can move it, put it on somewhere else and get it out of their way if it's a problem. Or they can do it. It's just, it's a star drive screw. It's not a big deal. Okay, so all the signs where they
The
are,
update is no, as I had, I think I've told you, I've actually pulled them down, especially the turtle ones, because turtle season's over and they're supposed to be seasonal. So the fact that they're supposed to be seasonal, I took them down and I've got a pile of them. So the thought was to put back then the ones about the dogs and in
Oh, that
different
doesn't-
locations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
other ones, I've got one of
Yeah.
your other ones.
yeah.
So how many,
I think that one disappeared. That one disappeared.
oh, yeah,
The mother
someone
one,
took
yeah.
it? That's
Oh,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's too good.
Yeah, we lost that one, and we lost one at Flamingo, which was just torn off, I think, along with the excess sign.
People get angry about some odd things.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put some holes in, maybe, it also might be a good idea just to go move them around a little bit, with the regular
Well, I've got a
visitors.
pile of them if you want to go play, yeah.
All right, I think that was on TV once, so the signs make a difference. Okay, anything else with the signs? Does anybody have a beach access that they want to have a certain sign on? Okay. Okay, Murphy. Rosemary, don't you?
Well, I sent you that picture of the new mural of the turtle. I think that's a possibility for a
Is that a
Murphy.
private business put that in?
It's
Was
a
that on
Home.
private
Oh.
house.
It was?
It's a
Oh,
house,
I
yeah.
would-
It's
Yeah.
right on the
Looks
corner.
like it's on a raised pool, kind of wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like an infinity pool and that thing there.
Right, instead of that ugly gray wall, we have
Yeah.
a stylized turtle, which
Beautification.
kind of spiffies it up a little. But then I was also thinking there's that group that just put in mini reefs. They would be, it
Oh,
would be good to give
yeah.
them a pat on the back,
That
too.
was Fairview?
Fairview,
that?
I think.
The community of Fairview, yeah, they did.
Right.
They put a lot in.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, the same guy, Ocean Habitats out of Marco did it.
And they put a number of
And
them
that's a
in.
condo? What's
No, Fairview is that, Fairview Isles,
Oh,
that's a
Fairview
subdivision.
It's that
Isles,
whole
yeah, yeah, yeah.
association.
Couple of
Ah.
streets, maybe 3 streets, and then there's
So they
one
got
at the
together and put a group
Yeah.
buy-in, is that what they did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't
the
say how
homeowners?
many mini reefs, did they? But they just
The
said a
article
lot of
didn't
them.
say, no, it showed them putting them in, yeah, but
But they deserve a pat on the back for that.
That's pretty awesome, yeah.
Right.
Because they paid for them. It wasn't like, ours was a town.
Right.
250
Yeah.
bucks.
And then I had a third idea also. This Castle Beach condominium wrote a letter to the editor about the boardwalks, how they don't want them down there. And I think that's something that we can get behind.
Well,
So those are my 3 thoughts for Murphy's.
didn't they put the kibosh on the boardwalk? Put it to bed once and for all, I thought?
Well, they can always appeal,
Oh,
Yeah, it's going to come back
or
at us.
they could come back when the council changes.
They've already asked for a rehearing.
Sure. But I thought
When
this
is that
letter.
going to happen? In this council, or the next?
Council.
Okay.
Well, I think we should go on record as
I think we
what we
pretty
have to
much,
say about that also.
I think the thing is to show up when the hearing is, because I think that's a pretty powerful thing.
Okay.
wow, definitely.
And I've thought of more points since then to bring up.
I couldn't believe it was a split vote.
Well,
It was a squeaker.
it was compelling.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, an attorney had some very good points. Okay, so we have three things. Let's talk through them all. We have the turtle mural.
Right.
We have the Fairview people who put on the
Mini reefs?
mini reefs, and we have the condo association, or just the president. I don't know, is it an individual
No,
or
she's speaking for the association, she said. It's the association.
opposition to the boardwalks? Well, let's go ahead and hear what everybody has to say, but.
Okay, can I go first?
Sure.
Thank you. So the boardwalk thing is pretty timely. The Fairview Reefs are as well, but the turtle can maybe wait. Maybe we can put that on another month, because that's
It's good,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
timely.
it's gonna be there,
Because these
right.
other two, yeah. So the mini reefs, that's pretty awesome, and the boardwalk thing, that would be good to put a paragraph in there saying, you know, how important that we not have a board, I don't know. Like you said, there's arguments both ways.
Well, I think
but
it's
I'm
important
pretty
that they let
against
their
it.
thoughts be known, because the way it was presented, everyone down there was in favor of it. And here,
Right.
this is an association saying, no, we don't want it.
Yeah, and I read that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are both very good. All three of yours are very good. Usually we don't have this many.
Usually we don't
to
have
choose
any,
from.
but now we got three.
Great to have a
so-
choice. So thank you.
So we
Brett.
need to bank one. right?
Yeah, we can
The
bank
turtle
Yeah.
one. That's right.
Yeah, put the turtle on the shelf.
Anything-
Yeah, we
anything
can
else?
put that one, yeah, maybe that one.
And
can be-
actually, well,
Well, no, in the bank, yeah, for next
Yeah.
month. when
Yeah.
nobody has
So-
one. Yeah, oh yeah, because that's not going away.
The reefs, yeah, I don't know. It's.
The
I
reefs?
think it's.
I like
those
the
are
reefs,
both
that's
good.
very.
have we
that's a
given Eddie
very-
Murphy for reefs?
No, I don't think we've given any.
Oh,
Give the
yeah, we
dolphin
did a
in.
Travis one. I did for Travis. I took a picture and he was a Murphy for his, because he put the dolphin in. He put his in first and then the town put theirs
All
in.
right, so that was the
We
first
did
one.
Travis, yeah.
So
He
our,
bought the two big ones
right.
on his dock.
But
so.
now this is an
This
association,
is
which
the
I think is
whole-
great.
This is a subdivision, yeah. Oh, it is great.
Yeah, this
yeah.
is
And
definitely to
their
be
canal
encouraged.
is longer, and the one has a curve in it, so, yeah.
Okay, I'll chirp in last. What's your,
So, my comment is that I think Fairview Isles is very practical. I went out and kind of put their money where their mouth is and to make things better. With regards to the letter, I think although it's a great sentiment and it's glad that they were vocal, I mean, is that something we want to sort of promote as a group? I think it's great to write letters. Does it seem like that's our place to cheerlead that, or to find does it fit? I guess that's my question. It just doesn't seem to.
Right.
yeah, my kind of feeling, and I think I agree with the timeliness of the turtle painting that, I mean, it's up now, but we can bank that one. The reservations at the boardwalk is that this, the Murphy is about someone who demonstrates environmental stewardship. And this is more of a political thing.
Correct.
So it makes me a little hesitant
Right.
to reward someone for opposing something that is currently in front of council.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm going to put it in the back of my notebook here in case we need something.
Yeah, and then the turtle. That's a good picture.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we award this month's Murphy to the community of Fairview Isles, and I'll get some more of a contact there for installing mini reefs.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. And then I'll make another motion that we bank a Murphy if we don't have another one in next month or don't meet for some reason, for the person that painted the mural of a sea turtle on their house down by Connecticut, or Coconut
No,
Street.
I think it's Coconut.
Coconut
It's
Street.
it's on the beach at
Okay.
Coconut.
Yep, I second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so let's get on to member items and reports.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I'm not kidding.
Well,
Go ahead.
Whoa,
I know, I'm sorry.
are you serious?
Really do have a headache, so
Yes.
I'm just saying.
okay, Steve?
I've got a few things, actually. I had attempted I was going to put the stereo-based street lighting program as an agenda item, but I suppose I can put it just as a member's report.
We can always then, at the set agenda, add it for the next meeting. So
Okay.
it'll be on,
Okay, we can do that, but I think.
we can talk about it now, though.
Yeah, I mean, I sent you originally, the reason I'm bringing it up really is I think that part of it should fall under our purview for marine resource, as part of the Marine Resource Task Force, for the reasons that it affects marine wildlife, but also other wildlife on the island. But really just to bring it to everybody's attention. I don't want it
See,
to,
today's paper? Roger has a big,
I didn't see it.
Roger has an article. Well, they have his picture there anyway. It's all about that.
It is, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
that
Okay,
meeting.
well, terrific. 'cause
yeah.
And
that's-
it's accurate. It's an
Yeah.
accurate,
It was just
Description
today,
of what
so it
happened.
just came out.
Okay, so
It's a good push.
it's a good thing, yeah. I guess my perspective is to try to get everybody together to understand what's going on and just don't let things move forward without being aware of what's happening. I sent you the original email before before it came before the council to adopt the study and to move forward with replacing all the Estero Bay lights with LED, actually 4 to 5,000 K LEDs, which are quite bright. So really just to put it on record that it's in our group for a couple reasons. I mean, actually, I know more about lighting than I care to ever even, talk about diving in. But there's a few reasons, and it's not, some of it should be under the public safety and the fact that if these LEDs go in, inevitably they're not turtle friendly, and inevitably they're going to turn them off again. And so we'll be back to where we're at today, where we're turning lights on and off, and it's just not safe. So it's really the premier thing is how do we increase the safety, and I don't think putting those up would be safe. But there's also some health reasons. About 10% of the U.S. is converted to LEDs, so it's still not quite where it needs to be. And really what I think the town has asked for is to give us another option, to consider amber LEDs and to at least model it, come up with costs, give the town another option.
What health reason are you referring to?
The primary one really is that the rich blue, the rich blue light that's in white light and LEDs affects the circadian rhythm, and so you don't sleep as well, but it also suppresses the production of melatonin.
Is that what they're talking about that comes out of your cell phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
okay.
specifically
Okay.
is a link to breast cancer, that the suppression of melatonin is one link to breast cancer.
And that's
There's
the
also
same.
issues with retinas, with effects to retinas, but the question is there are there medical studies to prove it all? Not yet. But it also affects wildlife the same way with with reproduction. An interesting thing is if your sky glow is too bright, zooplankton won't come up to feed on phytoplankton, which is a problem. Obviously, with turtles, LED, any type of white LED is not approved by the FWC. There was a letter written by the imperiled species director up there, or biologist, I don't believe she's director, saying that those that were referred to and actually verbalized as being turtle friendly, they're not. And I mean, I went through old meetings, and Rexan, our own Rexan was the one that was promoting when the side streets were done. Actually, all the side streets were done in 300 Kelvin LEDs, and that's one of them that caused a disorientation at Sterling this year. So we realized right away these are not turtle friendly. But when that process was going on, Rexan, I mean, I have her quote here. She said, "Well, does this satisfy, turtle requirements, and are the turtles safe?" I mean, I'm ad-libbing here. I actually have the exact quote, and the answer was yes, of course. And so they were installed, and here we are. Anna Marie Island actually installed them, and they're in a lawsuit now because of the number of problems they've had. So the reason I bring it up here is to put on record that it's something that we should consider and stay abreast of it.
I've got to go, I mean, it was a little shock to me that this consultant was paid to do this lighting study and claimed, at least in a bullet point, that these were turtle-friendly lights when they're the opposite of turtle-friendly lights. And this is, I think they were paid for by the county, right? I think it was
MPO.
The MPO.
the MPO. Who is paying for these lights? Well, they say they're free. Who is paying for it?
They're free.
It's the MPO?
FPL.
FPL through funding really from the DOD, Department of Energy, the DOE. They have incentives to reduce energy consumption, and I think FPL has identified that the quickest win for them is to go after communities to change out their lights to LEDs. I mean,
Yeah, because I was kind of shocked about that. I think that too, there are, a lot of very compelling arguments, because if you look at it strictly from a public safety versus environmental issue, is that if you are going to go through, when you have these bright blue lights, your eyes dilate. That's why, pilots use red lights, or when you're out at night, you use red lights so your eyes don't adjust to the light. So when you go if you have to go through, and they're going to find out that, because he even said in the program that a certain percentage of the lights, they know they're going to have to turn off in turtle season, even from the get-go. So then you're going to have dark spots, and you're going to have the bright lights that dilate the eyes, followed by the dark spots, which is the worst-case scenario.
Yep, it's pupillary response. Yep, it actually exacerbates what's happening now and makes it worse. And glare is increased also with LED. The other actual.
And I don't think it's the LED specifically as it is the color
blue
temperature.
White light.
Yeah,
It's
the color
rich,
temperature.
It's blue light is
Yes.
what it is. It's blue
Yeah.
light. Yeah, the wavelength of the blue light. But the last thing, actually, before I get off the subject, is this issue of dark skies as well, and the light pollution they cause. Right now, we have a mixture of high-pressure sodium and also low-pressure sodium lights on the island. And just to give you an idea, a high-pressure sodium, which we have now, if you replace that with with only I think a 3,000 Kelvin, and actually putting in 4s and 5s, it will increase the light pollution by 2.5 times what we put out now. So our sky glow now, if we were to replace just the 100 and let's say I think it's 103 lights that are currently on Estero Boulevard, it would increase by 2.5 times. But they're actually adding 87 more lights, which is 77% more. So what you're adding then is again 77% more light, which is is a problem right now. I think Cape Coral and Sanibel are trying to work together, because their night glow, their sky glow, is affecting actually turtles in Captiva and Kia Costa, where there's no lights. So for some reason they're walking east. Yeah. So that's been an issue. So anyway, if you appreciate the darker night and the star-filled sky, we could have a problem with that.
Okay, well, we can write, there's a couple things we can do. We can write a position paper that we can give the town council saying this is what MERS position is with the lights. We can also, and I think that too, it makes sense for, maybe I can go to a public safety committee meeting and talk about lights with them. Because public safety, I mean, there's been a drive for some kind of light on the dark roads for a long time, but just let them know that what looks like an easy answer is not necessarily the safest thing in the long run. The other is look at, like, I'll bet there's like a dark sky certification that a
There
town
is.
can get.
There is,
Because that's another branding thing. Because,
sure.
one of the side benefits of turtle season is you go out to the beach and you see a lot more stars and lights out there. You get more in tune with the natural light. So those are some options we can do with this. The other thing is I feel compelled to, write something in opposition to this consultant's paper that claims that these lights are turtle friendly.
Yeah, that sounds like a lawsuit
Because-
right there.
Because
Well,
this is going to go
It's
to
blatantly wrong.
this is going to the Department of Transportation, I assume, and to the county. And if they're basing it on what this guy's saying, then they're basing it on, I think, what is not true information.
It's right, and it's very limited in its scope. As Roxanne said, that when it was presented, is that it's she wants a second opinion. It was very specific for this. I mean, it was almost in my estimation, it almost seemed like this is how, sort of out of the work, and they come and they meet the community, and they lay out the program they'd like to see, meaning the supplier, and then just instituting, the lights so they get their benefit. So in this case, it was voted down that they didn't want to pursue it, and that they wanted to investigate using amber lights. And I don't know where that was at. I don't know where it was left.
It's going to cost more.
Well, it's a question, how much? And also, I think there's a question about whether or not the amber lights are actually part of the tariff program for FPL also. So that's what that needs to be investigated. And our, the consultant that did from the MPO that did the study didn't look into anything like that. They accepted what was provided them and moved forward with it. Because the reason he said it was turtle friendly is it actually is a 180 cutoff, so there's no element sticking below like you're used to seeing with a sodium light. And so technically that is, that contributes to sort of a certified light, and it doesn't. So that's what that they were using as a reason.
Right. And because, I know being on the beach that you have to have the right temperature light and it has to be shielded.
Correct.
So it's both. It isn't
and
one
of
or the
questions
other.
was,
You
does it
need
need to be
both.
shielded at one of the meetings? They said no.
Just one quick thing. Just want to recognize that Greg came. I think, Greg, we changed the meeting time.
I just figured that out.
So Greg Holmes is here for the record, and Roger's here to talk.
Hey, just real quick, thank you. Sorry to interrupt your train of thought here. Two things. First is I just want to make sure everyone understands that the consultant was provided via the MPO to the town. So I want to make clear that there's a clear wall between their recommendations and what the town staff thought or said or whatever.
Now, just clarification. So the MPO initiated the study and then gave
We requested funding through the MPO for the issue, and they funded the study, and there was a study done by a consultant using MPO funds for the town's behalf. So I want to be sure everyone understands sort of a Chinese wall between us and the consultant. There always is, but in this case, it's perhaps a little thicker wall. So where we are now is basically to find a product that everyone thinks will meet all the concerns, and the concerns are varied as you've been discussing. We have the public safety, high visibility concern that seems to be some people on the Public Safety Committee have, and then we have the environmental concerns that many other people have, and we want to try to do the right thing because in all probability we're going to have these whatever lights we pick for a while. So I always caution people that something through a grant or free is only good if that's what you want. If it's not what you want, then it's not a good deal. So let's be sure we figure out what we want, and then we'll figure out if we have to pay for it, how we're going to do that.
So the funding that makes these lights free, is that just specifically for this, or is this someone's interpretation of the funding?
I don't really know all the requirements of that particular grant, but what I do know is this, that grant is written under the concept of getting to highly efficient lighting. So it's not necessarily this type A lighting versus type B, but it's really that's the goal of that grant through the federal government is to get away from the current incandescent light type lighting and get to lighting that utilizes less electricity, and so that being said, in the universe of American products, because we always get into trouble if we have to go overseas, we should be able to find a light that can better fit all the concerns that everyone on the island has. We just have to get out there and work with people and do that research. And hopefully it'll also meet the criteria of the grant, but we'll find out as we move forward.
Now, what can MRF do to help this along? Is there some research that we can do?
Well, absolutely. I think that everyone here and on our Public Safety Committee. One of the reasons why the town has such a robust committee structure is because we don't have staffing to the extent of a lot of other cities. So to the extent that if any of you, whether it's glyphosate or fertilizer or now lighting, can help us by doing some research to get us down a path that may lead us to success, that's always welcome and appreciated.
How much time do we have here, Roger? When do we have to decide?
Well, I don't think, my sense, and, you have your liaison here, but my sense is that the town council is more committed to doing the right thing than doing something. The latest time they took up the matter, they said, listen, continue to muddle through with the existing blue lights till we find a solution. So that was the last time that the council took action on the issue, and I'm sure.
Just to clarify, he doesn't mean blue lights like you're talking about. He's talking about the color of the poles.
Right, the existing
Yes.
full painted pole lights.
The county, yeah, yeah.
That's very confusing.
Right, so the council's recent decision was continue on with those until we find the best and most appropriate fit for Fort Myers Beach. So that's what we're doing. Now, we'll work on it. We welcome the Public Safety Committee's input. We welcome your input. And frankly, anybody's input to help us find the best fit and the right fit to try to address the whole array of concerns that people have, from seeing the people in the road to making sure that we don't adversely affect wildlife. So that was issue one. Issue two, not as important, but pretty important, was to take the opportunity to thank you for your service as we come to the end of a year, calendar year, to wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a healthy, Happy New Year in the event that I don't see you again before those dates roll forward.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks for taking the time and coming and talking to us.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so then, going forward with this, what we can do then, we can write, I think, an argument about why warmer temperature lights are better. And I think if we can do some research, find out the lights they were planning on purchasing and finding alternative, because I remember at the meeting, you need roughly twice maybe the number of lights, and because they only put out the half the
They have to
effective light.
put more poles in, right.
So, you're talking about at least doubling the cost of the lighting.
Correct.
And twice the lights means twice the electricity, which means maybe you're losing some of that power saving benefit that helps you with the,
Definitely will lose some going to amber light than you
Yeah.
will with these.
But just to help you, the ratio in the little area we were looking along Crescent Beach Park was 2 white lights to 5 amber lights.
Actually, maybe been 7.
and you're going to be hold, I'm sorry, you're trying to make a getaway there, Roger, but I got you right before you got to the door. That this is all the way through FP&L, right?
Right. The program that we're initially looking at was through FPL, and because as part of, I guess, their brand and whatever they're doing is to help people to get to less of lighting that is as effective but uses less power. So they do these lighting swaps in all municipalities throughout the state and possibly even other states, and taking advantage of this federal funding.
Now, has anybody looked at the economics of using solar panel battery systems? Because solar technology, batteries, and LEDs have all progressed greatly, and there are a lot of places where people will put in LED lights powered by their own internal battery pack and solar panel to just avoid either using the power company or having to run wires out to a remote parking lot or something. I'm thinking specifically, so instead of being limited to putting lights where the power poles are, that lights can be put at crosswalks.
So the short answer to your question is yes, we actually found one potential product that kind of goes down that avenue. We haven't vetted it yet. We just sort of found it as doing some internet research. So the answer is yes, whether they're a good company, whether the lighting is good, whether all that has to be vetted, but your trend of thought is correct. There are companies that manufacture that type of lighting.
Wouldn't need to use those if it's not turtle season. We could just use the ones we have. And you're saying just use those solar-powered ones when it's turtle season?
Or, you can do a lot, if you get away from FPNL and their restrictions, then you can do things like you could have a button-activated brighter light at a crosswalk, So when somebody, kind of like the ones that flash, you could also have a street light, that comes on, illuminates for people to cross, just in case somebody just happened to use a crosswalk.
This particular one was lower, more directed, in terms of the
Right.
head. So, again, everything sounds good when sort of they're selling the product until you actually get a sample or whatever and test drive it and talk to some of their other customers about how well it works and all that. So all that would still have to be done. But in terms of an avenue to explore, you're looking at something similar that we are in terms of what's out there.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Yeah, I'll give you a head start for the door this time. Okay.
Okay, so member reports.
Well, does anybody, okay, we should talk about this. I can write like a kind of an argument for this. If someone wants to maybe do some work on researching the different lighting. I did do it when I was with the Public Safety Committee. I did look at some of the LED solar panel battery powered lighting, because there is a town, I think like Punta Gorda or somewhere, who uses that on a boardwalk near the water. So it isn't that far-fetched. It is being used in other places, so it may be effective like in our downtown area, maybe, I don't know. So if somebody wants to volunteer to look into the economics of that? Steve?
I'm on it.
You're the lighting
I'll do it.
man.
Okay, anything else, Steve?
Yeah, a couple things. One is, right when the roadway's done, this may be in advance, the South Bridge, this big Carlos Bridge, it will be changing. I don't think it's the DOT or the counties decide exactly what it will be, but the old one, I believe, will be coming out. So my question, but two things on the bridge. One is, can they leave a fishing platform if they do put a 60-foot bridge on there? We want to make sure that they still have that. I mean, it's part of Florida culture, is to be able to fish from a bridge. I mean, maybe even just like they have at Matanzas, where they have the two piers that kind of come out. But also, it'd be interesting to collect some of the bridge, the clean bridge rubble, and see if we can put an artificial reef right off of our beach. So that's just something I'm throwing out there that I'm going to start looking into. And I know there's organizations that provide grants for that kind of stuff. And I believe that's it. Oh, the only other item I had on member reports was, can we do something about, maybe for our member Justin, who needs to actually determine whether he plans on staying or not? I mean, is that an email from the clerk of the town to request whether or not you officially are here? Because Patty, when she left, she sent a resignation, correct?
Yeah, and sometimes even that doesn't work to get you off the list. People have done that. People have resigned, and then you look on the page, and they think they're still there. But that's a fuzzy. I know the town council and the town worked hard to come up with new ordinances that spelled everything out. But some of the responsibilities, me as a chair, the members aren't privy. We're not the ones who are communicated with when someone is going to be here or not going to be here, whether it's an excused absence or an unexcused absence. That's the liaison. And I always assumed that the liaison kept track of absences, like our teacher.
Sure.
I just wanted to tell you, as a liaison, I have experience with this with another committee years ago, before even policies were more set than they are now. And they did vote to remove someone from the committee for an excessive number of unexcused absences. I mean, the person didn't communicate, didn't resign, never showed up. So they finally took a vote to say this person has exceeded the number of unexcused absences, and we removed them from the committee. And then I believe the chair of that committee worked with Michelle on how to process that whole process. So Bill, you may want to talk to Michelle about it. But as I remember that did occur with another committee at one point in time.
Because the ordinance that we worked for months on, I remember one of the things was, it says if you violate the number of, the rules on absences, that you will be removed. It wasn't like maybe.
We talked about
Correct.
that exact wording.
But you
yeah.
still, the committee has to vote to make that happen. I don't think it's an automatic thing, because
Okay.
someone could show up and make some explanation as to why, et cetera. So just from my point of view, kind of as a due process thing, that you put it on the agenda, you give the person a chance to respond, and then you actually vote and make it official somehow. But again, it would probably be a good idea to discuss that with Michelle. That's my inclination.
It
My
might,
concern is just what's the trigger to, I think in this situation, I think with Justin is that we just have to ask, I think. Correct?
And-
I
and
mean,
you
I
know,
think
And the other thing is Greg, too. I mean, we have a certain, because where we came into problems before is that we had 6 or 7 people. We need 4 for a quorum. And
that's
4 of
why
us
I
are all the
joined.
time, but if one of us doesn't come, we don't have a quorum.
Right, no meeting, yeah.
Yeah, and that, that kind of happened last month, my fault.
so my understanding from Ms. Michelle is 3 unexcused absences, and then y'all can make a motion.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Now, will you keep track of that and let us know?
We're on number 2.
Okay, so we're starting the clock when,
So y'all voted to amend the last minutes for unexcused.
okay.
This would be
But
the
it's
second
been-
unexcused.
I
Okay.
think it's
Okay.
been,
Oh, he's had several.
since Dad passed, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also, and I met him at an event, and he just said he's just overwhelmed since his dad passed, and I completely understand it. If he wants to come back, I'd be open to it.
We should find
because
out.
Because it's kind of exceptional
Or, yeah.
circumstances, but still. But I don't know if
So we
we,
should
if we
see
do
it
that,
that
if we allow someone to do something that, is that against the ordinance? Are we breaking the rules?
No, I think someone can come to you and explain why their unexcused absences were reasonable. They were in a coma, for example. I think you can be flexible about it as a committee, because you do have to vote on it. So it looks kind of automatic in the rules, but I still think due process-wise, you need to follow a kind of a procedure. But I believe you, as the chair, Bill, have the right to contact him and say, are you going to start coming, or do you want to resign
I think that's
before
fair.
we have to remove you? We don't want to have to remove you.
Exactly, yeah.
I can do that. I'm not going to meet him in a dark alley somewhere. Okay.
I think he's done, yeah.
Okay, and also, we have 6 now, right?
But yeah.
So we have a vacancy.
Correct. Currently, we have a vacancy.
Right.
yeah.
So
We
if
have one
anybody,
vacancy.
if anybody knows anybody who wants to be on MRF, bring them. More bodies. Okay, anything else with,
Do you have a bird person? You've got a turtle person?
Bird person's right here.
Are you the bird person, Bill?
He's a
You might,
bird god.
you might see some of those people, like Penny Jarrett knows all the bird people that she brought to the meeting. See if you can encourage someone.
yeah. There was this woman who was at the leadership conference who, she used to be a professional grant writer. And I ran into her again,
She lives here?
yeah, and
She's
I ran
registered.
into her, and
I met her.
I was trying to encourage her to come, but she hasn't shown up yet. Then I'm going to get her for our committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Anything else, Steve?
Oh, I believe that's it.
All right. Mayor Rose?
No, I don't have anything, Bill.
Okay. The only thing I have, and one of them was going to be lighting, but that's been covered. I'm really curious still about the artificial wreath effectiveness. that we've been putting these things all over the place and everyone thinks they're great, but, you know, from what I understand is where there's a lot of flow, there's barnacles getting on, but the people who put these in, are they doing any kind of follow-up on it?
May I interrupt? I just suggested to Allison at Mound House that they use some of the TDF funds to buy an underwater camera, like you suggested. And Dexter can use it as part of his educational program. And then we can see what's underneath there. You can drop the camera lens down, and it will project it onto a TV or a computer. We can see what's floating around down there
On the reefs?
and on the reefs.
And are you talking about the
She's
oyster
checking-
reefs?
The artificial reefs,
The
right?
Yeah,
artificial, the
not
mini
like
reefs.
offshore artificial.
No,
reefs.
right. They're-
On
Yeah.
the mini
You
reefs.
can take a GoPro, actually, just,
Yeah, I wouldn't
Exactly,
think,
something
especially
like that.
if you back illuminate it, I don't think you're going to see anything.
No?
but it's floating.
They
It's
use them
only
for
a foot-
fishing,
it's
though.
only a
The
foot
ones that they
below.
use for fishing.
Yeah, but that's
Will
not,
that work?
I
But
don't,
there's enough light, yeah.
yeah, and it's clear enough.
Bay? But you're talking about the back bay?
No, just the ones at the Mound House dock. They put two artificial
the
reefs,
town-
the big ones.
Canals,
The
yeah.
town actually
And the
paid
canal, yeah.
for a whole canal
Yeah.
full of
Correct.
these.
Yeah,
Right.
$10,000 worth, yeah.
But we can't
So-
see what's in there. We want to see
I
what's
mean,
in
you
there.
can go there and lift them up like I did if you want.
Well, I've got another
Sorry,
angle
should I
on
say
this
that?
besides seeing them. Penny Jarrett had the program with the water testing. We might ask or find out what her results were for the mouth of that canal to see if it seemed to have any effect. It might be something to look at.
Yeah,
Well,
except there's
rate
a
testing,
lot
too.
of causes and,
Right, but it still would be, it
Interesting.
would be good, the town should get some kind of feedback regarding that
The
expenditure.
results, yeah, oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, definitely there's a lot
I
of
agree.
current. You'll get tons of growth. You'll have
Yeah.
mollusks,
Curl
mussels.
it, yeah.
well, that's the theory.
That's what I have, well, it is
Well,
out
no,
there. It
it
happens
is.
everywhere we see it and do it.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
mouth of the canal, right there, behind the Dolphin Inn, there's a lot more growth. But as you go farther and farther towards, when you get to the Dolphin Inn, it's very small barnacles. And a lot more green, whatever you said, like the algae. They're on there.
Water, they're
Algae.
pretty easy.
Where, at the Dolphin Inn?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
that's
where
where
we're
I-
talking about?
That's where I do my water
Well,
testing. He's
I
got,
have like 3 underwater cameras. I'll take a picture of it. You can tell me where to go.
you could probably use
I'll
Travis's
put a
kayak.
wetsuit on, jump in there and take photos for you.
Or, I don't,
Well,
with-
let me know.
Yeah.
yeah, if it
I
gets to
think
that.
an underwater camera for an idea of an educational thing to show people life is a good thing. But I think you can just pull them up and look at them.
And I
And
got
they're
a
float, they're
GoPro on
not
a
that
stick
heavy.
too.
No, they're
Stick it-
not.
Stick that with a GoPro.
You can lift them up. There's
And just look.
styrofoam like something, and then they're
Get into
connected,
it.
like they float, the little connectors float.
But
and
if
then-
there's little fish and crabs and stuff, they're not going to be there when you pull the thing up. That's what I want to see, is
Yeah.
all that stuff that's living. Like, I know the stuff that attaches itself.
Yeah, yeah.
But what else is there?
Well,
If indeed, if there
Anything that
anything.
needs to hide will be there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
and, you're right, there's an additional benefit. But the basic premise of these things is that they, filter feeders attach to them and they clean the water. And that's something that's a premise that's pretty easy to verify. And I think it'd make an interesting, probably story for the paper, saying how these things are really working. Because if they are working, that may encourage more people to do it.
Well,
Yeah,
like,
you should see in 6 months, it
Well,
should be
yeah.
getting pretty clear.
that's what he said. It's
They're
6
very
months.
fast filters. They're
but-
amazing how fast they filter.
Where he had his pictures, he showed us that 6 months, 9 months.
Yeah,
Remember when he
6
came?
months, you should see
But
improvement.
that was probably where there was a lot of flow. So like I said, in the canal where they are, like where Travis put
Stagnant.
his, it's very stagnant.
If there's no flow,
There's
they'll
no
die
flow down there.
probably.
So it's a lot
Right.
slower to get going, but at the end, like the oysters are this thick on the piling, so yeah, there's a lot more growth.
Yeah,
at
if
the-
you don't
the
get a
ones on
tidal
land.
change, they'll die. They won't live.
Okay. Well, I might, maybe I'll go out sometime with a kayak or get someone with a boat, go look at some and,
Don't
I
they
got
have 'em at the-
GoPro, I got
marina
cameras,
too?
whatever.
What marina has them? Didn't Fishtail put them in?
yeah, Fishtail put a
Or one
bunch up.
behind, the one behind Publix.
Snookbite
Was it
actually puts them
Snookbite?
in, yeah, Snookbite puts them in, and
Oh,
there's
the
some
other
private
thing is-
owners too, just north of Snookbite.
Yeah, to be some kind of scientific thing, you also have to know, come up with the objective way to measure what's on it and also know when they went in. Because if someone just put it in a month ago compared to someone who put it in 9 months ago, there's going to be a difference. All right. All right, and one thing probably for the record, I think to be fair, we have Gregory down as an unexcused absence, but since we changed the time and he wasn't around for the conversation, I think we can move that to an excused, not absent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Member,
Gregory?
member comments?
back, but just catching up, thanks.
Got a haircut.
Glad to be here. Yeah, I raised $2,000 doing it, so it was pretty cool. For a program, for a children's program, yeah.
So the cancer?
So it's 2 years of tough, yeah.
Man,
I don't know how you do it. I'm so happy.
Really, because I have to pay to get my haircut.
Yeah.
Well, grow it out like he did, they'll pay you.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. My hair gets pretty kinky. Okay, so no more, we're done. Nobody else has any items, reports, or anything else to talk about? All right, public comment? You guys just missed the first public comment.
Talking about today anyway. So, hi, my name is Renee Heil. Megan and I own a company called Reef Box. It's a subscription box company for scuba divers. So when you were talking about dropping things in the water, Megan's like, well, I'll go in and do it with one of my cameras if you need it. A portion of our proceeds each month goes to a conservation partner. So we have a huge conservation focus with the company. We're actually planning dive trips with a lot of them. As part of that work, we are actually working with Autumn Bloom, who owns Stream to Sea, which is one of the top-of-the-line marine-safe sunscreen companies. And we're hosting her to come into town on January 15th to do a little happy hour and a talk about what does it really mean to be reef-safe as far as cosmetics and sunscreens. And she does a great talk on that. And we wanted to make you guys aware of it and invite you guys to join us. We're going to do it at like 5 o'clock. So January 15th, I've got some flyers and some papers. Please spread the word. Where? Oh, Bayfront. Bayfront Bistro is where we'll be at. So she'll talk about what it means to really be reef safe and how the chemicals that we wear when we get in the water affect reefs and things like that. So thank you.
The owner of Tuckaway has reef safe products. If you want to talk to her, she carries them.
Amy? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, we know who has them and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Key West, starting at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would personally love for you guys to consider doing a similar type sunscreen ban that Key West has done, Hawaii's done it, the whole country of Palau has done it, what bans the sale of sunscreens and lotions that carry chemicals that are not safe for the environment. And by the way, as a physical activity epidemiologist, they're not very good for us either, so.
I thought we couldn't get TDC funds if we promoted reef safe. I thought
There was some kind
tied up
of-
with, remember that?
Our state loves preemptive laws.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And I know there was something about that.
Yeah.
That they passed some kind of law. That they're trying to punish Key West.
Yes, they're trying to reverse the Key West ban.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So for the next meeting, we just want to add the lighting to the agenda?
Correct, yeah. For updates.
Is that consensus? Everyone agrees?
Yes.
Yep, okay. And I think that's it. Okay, so I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.
Okay.
Shortest meeting.
Cool little,
Holy
where'd these come from?
I think that was the shortest meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come here and see all you guys early.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I
longer
almost
than it
told,
Screw up this time.
and I don't have your phone. I was gonna text and I'm like, I don't have his phone, so I was like, I hope somebody.
Print stuff out and I just stick it in my thing. I don't look at it.
Alrighty.
Remember the 3 p.m. I was like, I gotta go, so yeah.
And I see this one, it was 5 o'clock last time. I was like, all right.
We're gonna be light on? I think it
Yeah,
is, isn't it?
yeah, it should. 5, yeah. It's creeping up on us, so.
And then the other one was,
I was looking at it.
Fort Myers Beach, but then I also pulled any shared waterways.
if it's necrotic,
Yeah, there was a gun battle is what it was, wasn't it?
it's assigned as watercraft, because how did it get the, she said that. Like, that had a cut and they died from an infection, they say, oh, it must be watercraft, so.
Bill, have you
She
guys
said
like
that's another way they cut.
sign
But it
people
can't
this, or
really be
who's doing that?
Steve is doing it. If you want to pick some people off of it, because also we had a couple more like Publix and,
One big meeting.
Oh, yeah, because I'm gonna tell her today.
I'm waiting for the names.
Oh, I think it's great.
you know,
Yeah,
talk to
maybe.
Steve, because we have like 5 more to go.
Right.
Yeah, we've got, because see, a lot of these, there was like 2, and then we've got 4. So we have 11.
They're all over the place.